All right, everybody. Welcome. Welcome and welcome again to another edition to another wonderful reading stream here on Chaos, or I should say Zero Ends channel. Let me check everything's good. Looks like everything sounds good on my end. I'm not sure. I always will double check. I'm probably gonna keep up to make sure everything is stable. I'm gonna have to close some windows up here before I start, because usually with anything you don't want to have certain things popping up. Alright. It's been a while since I last left off. how much more left into this book, The Endangered Black Family and Coping with Unsexualization and Coming Extinction of Black Race by Nathan and Julius Hare. I think we have like 70 more pages left in this book, and then this is the end of it, or I should say 60. Nonetheless, there is still a little bit more reading left. I think what they have done back in the 70s and 80s with this book is really revealing the inner truth about the possibility that the ADOS or slash African American community could potentially go extinct. And I say potentially because everything in nature doesn't really go extinct. It just reshapes and reforms itself on the average. So I never believe in the word extinction itself, because that's just a negative word, nasty word. But nonetheless, in nature things do happen, right? We're in control or not. We have to, do what's best to either survive or, thrive, dominant, whatever you want to call it. People gotta do what's necessary. Let's see here. And like I said, nothing in nature is perfect, as y'all know. As you know, we as a race of people, we have gone through worse, and we'll continue to go through more harder times. The only answer you should ask yourself as people, when is enough, should be the bigger answer. I feel that for any mighty race of people, we might have to have our backs against the wall to really react and do what's necessary for self-preservation. And that's going to come in times to come. I don't have all the answers. I'm willing to want to have all the answers, but nonetheless, I'm just here to educate, because I'm learning as y'all learning. I mean, there are very little books I've read and completed so far in my life. And one thing with this channel, the whole emphasis is to better improve the educational and the qualities of information that it's been left before us, and to really dissect it, to check how it still plagues and affects us today as a people, race people, culture people, whatever you want to call it. So, on to this chapter at hand. Let me move one more thing and we will start. One thing I do want people to do, if you so kindly could do, if you will leave comments during every stream, I will read them, depending how often you give out, rather good or bad. You must also, if you can, like this stream or dislike it, doesn't matter to me. But it's good to hear from you. There's something that either you know, right, or don't know. You might not understand or understand. Nonetheless, I'm a person, I will listen. So, no further ado, let's go on to this chapter itself. It's titled, What is Black Feminism? Oh, Black Feminism. Now, we're not sure if this is the part of Julius Hare talking her views of feminism, or it could be her husband. Nonetheless, we're going to look into Black feminism and look at, from their eyes, the totality and its effects. In the battle wages in slavery time between the abolitionists and the suffragettes, who felt that giving the white woman the vote was more important than freeing black women, men, and children from chattel slavery. Eventually, it took sides outright with the slaveholding forces. They were led by Susan B. Anthony and racist talking Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Today, in the dawning of the 1980s, the black woman herself urged on by a number of black leaders, males, females, increasingly well chosen, to join the white feminist camp in conflict with those black men and women who continue to view white feminists as competitors for the reformed apple pie as usurpant of the general revolutionary initiative. While white radically feminist publications will air criticism condemning the bourgeois white feminist clam or for the ERA and discriminatory towards blacks and poor women, black male militants of the women minorities and the poor we are all one varieties will go all out to punish the passage of this what they call spurious amendment in order to get their books published, their candidates elected, or otherwise to get over in a society now dominated by white liberal moderators and their values and agendas. Thus, history repeats itself before our eyes, or our very own eyes, but a tragedy and a fierce, while we prefer to focus upon a remote and ancient past rather than learning from our own lives and our present communities of errors, for it is safer and more comfortable to merely study ancient Egyptian mythology, which may and will have its place, but what they call cannot take the place of combat with our present reality. And what that is saying, that you can't read up and learn about the ancient ways from the Egyptians, how people used to do back and whole dynasties for lasting 20 dynasties, how they used to do things back in Egypt times. That's going to really solidify your survival here in the West in the 21st century. So that's something you should keep in mind. Yet all the revolutionaries abroad, the Pan-Africanist nationalism and the Marxist internationalism, between their planned trips to Lagos, Cuba, and China, will have good rationalism for this avoidance, while their women and children Caucasoids and hold bickering secessions into where hours of the morning at grand conference, while their women weep in other confusion or concessions, left at the mercy of today's white oppressor and her values and ideologies, whims to win freedom in South Africa and Guyana had gained popularity over the unfinished struggles in South Chicago, Georgia, just as the battle with the Ku Klux Klan lunatics fringing is more popular than a forbearing, or we call forthright, confrontation with our liberal moderate rulers. The reason is that these preoccupations have the capacity for distracting us from American white liberal deception. The result is that black feminists equal only to black women disaffection and disappointment with the black male have merely joined forces and echoed white feminism. Yet any reflection soon revealed that black feminism and white feminism have much in common, but even more in conflict, competition between the whites and the black women, and the nature of their conflict with their men. Nevertheless, the black woman anguish grows so acute that it is increasingly preferred to hitch her stars in the white feminist feeling, suspecting that her man complains against the white feminist. Indeed, his chant against the white man is but an unconscious invasion, an empty and quixotic excuse for his own incompetence and reluctance to contend in the marketplace. Yet many of these black women resent the white supremacist man and woman, unlike perhaps to a greater degree than the black man does, and they know on some deep level that the white woman's goals are somehow in discord, if not authentically to their own. For instance, the white woman wants to be equal to her man, and so does the black woman. But the black woman too often must long for a man to be equal to. The white woman wants to get out of the home just as the black woman by the late 1960s could get a peep inside, wanting to get in the home at last to rest one day. And many black women, even now, if they had a good man who could support them and if they thought the relationship would last, but it won't, if only they could believe in the black male. But increasingly, they feel they couldn't or they can't. They trade the career, Mercedes, and all for the man. In a particular or a patriarchal society, where even a feminist prefers a man with some money or position, where the male of the oppressed race suffers a broken or distorted patriarchal ideal, the white feminist and the white liberal oppressor now comes over just in 60s. That's telling right there. That's really telling. Black power movements to introduce a matriarchal theory and said you no longer need to exclusively attainment of the patriarchal, nevertheless preserved by the white man. Between the devil and the deep blue seas, as things now stand, the black woman feels she must begin to swim for herself to grab what many and hold on or down. When you ask black feminists, what is black feminism, on the middle of some vigorous discourse, they suddenly fall silent and stammered, for they know no feminist other than that of the white feminists of the primetime news and the commercial magazines. For most don't even read alternate radical white feminist literature. Thus somebody has bothered to define black feminism, which seem strange and a shame, because white people surely will, and when it suits them. If we don't, and increasingly is no longer clear to the black woman or her man exactly what the black woman wants. Increasingly, they do not know how to say to each other, and increasingly, they will no longer talk. The black woman has come full circle, caught up between a muddy rock and a hard place. She, the black matriarchal of not so long ago, was said to be alone with the white man, the only free people in the world, something she could never quite get into. This freedom forced upon her unsolicited then had to hire herself out to be white folks to help her man and family survive now. This has to work both in and out of the home for the same reasons, too often without a man to care for. No ease her personal and family burden. Her man, when he is around, is now too often of a mold called macho. To her, not macho, as they said, if the black macho is not the oppressor of the black woman, so the black matriarch was never really the oppressor of the black man. What is this thing by God called black feminism? I'll tell you what it is. To, I think, the late great Harris family, Nathan and Julius, that feminism, like many things, is a weapon, it's a tool against other groups of people. You see, ladies and gentlemen, When feminism started to be, or in its infant stage, back in the late 50s, and then slowly presented in the 60s, it was used as another alternate weapon to create disunity, distrust, and a separation between man and woman. It only was more effective to non-white people. Particularly affects more black people than everybody else. That's what it is. So let's continue. Now, it is true that a black male chauvinistic initiates the white sexist, who had the social institutions and machinery to do what is chauvinistic attempts on a personal plane. And the black male chauvinism often exaggerates the white sexist worst and most blatant characteristics, just as the black feminist copes and echoes the white feminist. But can they really find salvation in these white definitions? Of course, they cannot. The black man, for the most part, has no job to give, no government, no shares, no law, no revision, no freedom to flaunt. When and if the black feminist wants what the white feminist wants, not to mention the new privilege of finding her psychology identity if the marketplace equals and similar to any man, she will generally not ask this, but a black man, she will seek this from the white oppressor. The black woman asks the black man only to accept her when she gets her bold new break, not to feel threatened or turned off, and perhaps if he can make a greatest struggle himself, to be able to pull up and stand beside her. At the very time, therefore, when the black woman is getting a few things for herself, she will want the same things for her man, her race, her family. But a feminist handles down or hand downs from the white world won't permit her to indeed conceive these dualistic demands. But now the black woman, disappointment and despair for the black male performance likewise keeps her silent on the black male's plight. But if there is a black woman complaint against black men that take on a quality that is different from the white woman complaint against the white man, in fact, unlike the white woman, the black woman is rejected as a woman and a black, then there must be a thing called black feminism. And if there is a black feminism, or must be, maybe we are going to have to begin to incorporate it as an integral part of the black movement through not take the place of it. These things we warned 10 years ago. If we are going to incorporate black feminism, we must first know what black feminism is. Just as if we are going to go somewhere, we have to have some notion of where we are going. So once more, we ask the haunting question: what is black feminism? And what do black women want? Here is what we hear them saying. Those who are disinfected with the black man and all but fed up to hear and feeling possibly that somehow they have been had. To be sure, the black woman wants to be able to get a job according to her ability, as long as she has to work for quite as it kept. The notion that it is a privilege for a woman to work was sold to us only, or not only after the woman cheap labor supply was needed in the bonding marketplace bureaucracy, but in particular when two incomes grew necessary to make ends meet. Not that the black feminist would prefer to work, even so, if, like Miss Alone, she had a choice, she has to work and that is all there is to that. But even so, too many fail to realize the demand for equal opportunity and equal pay, as it thinks she cannot often make up, or actually often take up, with the black man very well. For it is a thing that black men long for also, an equality. She approached the white man, therefore siding by side with the black man by increasingly spurring on by the white woman example. She will see the black male as the fundamental source of the unhappiness, calling out in him a hurt and confused barrage of resentment and retaliatory blows. Then, just as the black man sits down to have his own cry, along comes Snow White to soothe him. The rate of intermarriage is now twice as great as it was before. The rise of white feminism 11 years ago, for in the manner of the brainwashing characteristics of the prisoners of war champ and the black man face an alternating but interlocking guardian, now harsh and rejecting, now warm and pleasure giving the comfort what he hates in the one he will love in the other. In studies in a dicolorism, Frank Farad once made the statement, moreover, that the oppressor works through the woman, wrenching her free from her old customs and traditions, winning her over to his values of materialism, erecting thought her control the man. And it is true that the black woman has consumed a desire for the good life. All the popular creatures confront nice things, and the jewelry and soldiery tinkling the historically have bespoken interest and admiration. She aroused in the male. However, the average black woman, wherever she is on welfare or in the corporations, by now retain few serious illusions that she will soon obtain these things from the suppressed and underemployment, actually. Even when not underemployed, black males, more and more, she will get these assorted fairies for herself, or she will do without in the service or otherwise good men that she can learn to trust, so long as the clear that he is putting up a good enough fight against a system or against the odds or both. She knows that the white man holds the resource and the access to life chance, that the best she can look for from is the average black man in acceptance and emotional support. At the home, once she has won gains for herself the marketplace, if that, for he will too often resent her for getting just as she resents him for not getting it. So you see there's a constant inner war battle between the black man and black woman in regards just to get the little crumbs on the table from, the European man. Things don't change, people. Just keep that in mind. The game still is running. The machine still runs smooth as always. Aside from knowing that she cannot really look to the black man at the point in our history for material blessings, and despite her relative affirmative to material possession, seem historically as the symbol of a man's appreciation for a woman. Despite her access to the white man's cupboard, his office, safe, his caretaker, his clergy, or a servant, or perhaps because of it, the black woman secretly knows also that money is not enough. More and more, as we have said, she will have this for herself. Better, and still she can't get satisfaction. After she reaches a certain social economic level, money losses some credit or value as a criterion of well-being. More money merely supplies more of the same things, more vacation, more trips, whatever variety, more tickling, or whatever value, so that emotional support arises as the exclusive craving of the things that continues to elude her. She will no longer ask for money if she is wise, so long as she does not feel she is being hustled or taken for a ride by a loafer. Low-income black women, it is true, still long for these little token and appreciate some men to help her out and give, but even her cry, if you ask her on a dark and quiet night, is concerned more with personal and physical needs. Mistreatment, although black women of the middle class complains that masculine abuse is currently moving up the socioeconomic ladder, her complaints center on the black male failure to thrive in this socioeconomic realm and the resulting interpersonal conflict of the lack of low level of communication. What bothers her also is that when she has decided to get an education to play the woman or to play the white man's game for survival, to learn to relate to her white associates and their way of life, to put more of her heart and energy into accomplishments or accomplishing material things, she is reminded that she is no longer warm like the white woman. If she doesn't have these occupational achievements, she feels she will be passed over or compared to often and prefer for one who does. The white woman will take care of her or take care of me. She'll let me drive her car anytime I want to, give me things just what I want. Doesn't care if I work or go to school or hang out with the boys and their women. But let the black woman achieve material holdings or positions in excess of her man. Then he becomes intimidated, especially those who don't have much going for themselves. Black women thus say they feed or adrift, tossed, and driven. If you have kids, he fears to have to support them, especially if he not supporting his own by some other woman. If you are childless, he focus instead upon the notion of your independence, the possibility that you might be too free, that you may tend to wish to control him, that you seem to have lost and missed some crucial part of yourself, some monthly instinct and image, that you are indeed a rather strange character that doesn't have a human need for love, for caring and sharing. Black women don't even complain that much about cooking and the wifely chores, and they are authentically as a group to the white feminist goal of unisexualism and unsexualization. Black women don't even want particularly to play football. Don't see such things as that importance, aren't trying to be men or more and more like a man. Once and for all, on the contrary, the black woman wants the chance she rarely had to be a woman, and to be threatened or treated like one, to be treated fairly, and to have a chance to return the favor without arousing masculine resentment. In contrast to the white feminist who is turning back all of a sudden on the very thing so far denied the black woman, most black feminists would be quite pleased to encounter the little courtesy, the chivalry, trivial, and a sampler and plain delights of a polite open door, almost any kind of fussing over her by a eligible and desirable man. The black woman, you see, still longs for the thing she has always missed, the gentle signs of acceptance and high regards of the old-fashioned concessions to her femininity and her feminine, yes, even her sexual worth. These things still have the capacity to please her, and these things of the black woman still wants. If she had the choice between such chivalries and a man, sure negativism, if she would have the door held open, nevermore to hit her in the face, she might not even feel so put down when she is. But not having the door open, having the door relentlessly slam like a door, slam, 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 when she gets there, not catered to as she once thought was desirable, neither then or now, but getting put down to boot, called out in her an impossible depression, a lethal blow to her womanly self-esteem and satisfaction. Check out, for example, this unsigned editorial in the Black Dispatch called "What is Sexism?" And I think that's some type of magazine back in the 80s, I believe. Much of the nations is currently embarking on a debauchous patriarchal voyage as far as the term sexism and concern urged on by a small minority of militants, females, some of whom exhibit a really hostile towards male and notions as being sold to women, generally that they must object to being sex objects. Of course, women have been sex objects for thousands of years, and their dress, makeup, and most beautiful or beautifications are aired in the direction. What one wonder, are men supposed to see them as military heroes, tough guys, physical strength specimens? On one hand, women seek to be as sexy and attractive as possible and want to be desired. On the other hand, some of them today are listening to abnormal, including lesbianism, dykes, etc., who tell them when men are seeing them as sex objects, this is bad. That is bad indeed. Most would agree that sex is not everything and that harassment, sex discrimination, etc. is wrong. But the average citizen these days, males and females, face a legitimate quarrel about the overuse of objecting to sexism. One can have it both ways. In the part, it's been considered a plus to have sex appeal and normal. For the majority of Americans, that's still a valid, normal concept. Again, what they call question, what do black women want? Mainly respect, just to be treated humanly, to share in simple conversation on a more or less equal plane without threat or intimidation on either side. The black woman longs for the black man and the black woman to work together for the good of the race, their children, their future, despite her slowly, nay, quickly crumbling hopes, her now indented despair. She is deeply pained that her man too often leaves her, that they may be leaving her, the black woman as a group. She has what they call reassess her demand or is willing to and is satisfied to accept what the black man can bring to her. If he will bring her love and acceptance, respect, and recognition, these simple things she know he can give. She will change her values, try harder if she must, if the black man will alter his attitude. To stand on the street corner and to harass black women passing by and sniffingly in the name of stud play, to make obscene remarks is childish. To try to force black women into returning or responding to these brash and unwanted overturn and criminal, even cowardly, for they tend to be made in the absence of any male companionship. The black woman can't understand how so many black men, instead of asking that what their women want, can and really assume that it is the same as what stereotypes would suggest, or what other women have taught them to expect. And while we are on it, black women wish black men would consult them on new family forms such as polygamy and all the new kinds of personal freedoms they devise in the name of freedom. Now, I think they're saying to negotiate in regards to polygamy. Now, I guess what the author is trying to say in this, that you ladies, if you listen to me, you might have to deal with polygamy as an option for, I guess, the African American ADOS family in the West we call America and abroad. I think other cultures outside of America, polygamy is known and not a problem. I think in Africa it's more even heavily accepted because, let's face it, there's more women than men. And a lot of women will want sister wives to handle the normal tasks that needs to be done in the household. So keep that in mind. For it is their lives too. Some brothers choose the woman they will want to combine in their new experimentation or program of polygamy, only then to announce their new ideology. The black woman would appreciate some warning personally and collectively. The black woman now stands warned, but black women wish black men could simply and always regard them as equal. At least not threatening them like some little child to solicit or at least acknowledge, if not respect, their opinion, especially when it comes in an era of their own clear expertise. The black woman long to be recognized at home as well as in the workplace, not to feel whipped down by her man for being recognized, at least in the marketplace, not to have him feel whipped down by her for not being yet recognized there. It is all so much unnecessary pain. Black women want to be taken care of. It is true, of everlasting dreams, but not to be placed in narrow constraints, unbreakable restraints, not merely to be led to have no say in the routines, decisions of daily life, never to have a choice of movies, say. In other words, black women want black men to cut back on the double standard, and they wish that black men to understand that jealousy and restrictions operate in both directions. I think a woman wrote this, to be honest with you, because there is double standard. As much times we want to not admit it or not, you're not going to escape it, ladies and gentlemen, especially women. Standards are put in place for a reason. As a key, the integrity of the society, integrity of the people, integrity of the culture. That's what it's for. Nothing more, nothing less. In spite of all these, we have concluded that the black woman is hard put to come up with consecrated demand beyond the black man's attitude, his low level of acceptance of her, or his inability, or what they call declination or disinclination to show it, or her feelings of failure. In the black man, too frequent inability to thrive, a failure, she too seldom links to his social plight or circumstance, feeling constraint that he focus upon his complaint as an excuse. The black woman thus inadvertently joins the white race in suppressing the black man rage, so that starting with his mother, the black man feels misunderstood by the woman. Meanwhile, the simplistic white feminist anti-male orientations can tolerate no conscious demand for black men as a group, wishing instead to place the black man problem on a back burner to miniature and deny them. This is the paradox white feminists present to a unsuspected black feminist that is both alienated and underdefined. Having been promised a piece of the pie, the black woman feels the feminist suggestions that the black man as a man and that alone already has or should or could if he could or if he only would if he were only willing and able personally in the absence of any alternative theory, for none can find the light of day these days in the media or in books. The black woman will too often wish to have her cake and eat it at the same time, even if the means that her portion will be turned out or snout by the black male acid resistance. So we are faced of black people with a challenge and a question revolving around whether black men and women are going to be able to band together, whether both can rise their consciousness, whether we can find means to rise it for them, so that they will cease to see themselves as enemies, instead to recognize their common foe, the ones that continue to stand before us. Will we be able to change each other ourselves instead of merely deserting each other? There are black women who have given up, who no longer bother to try to date anymore and any black or date anymore and black men who don't know what to say to a black woman. Women who feel anything they say to black men will likely to take in a contrary spirit. So these black men and women, each in their own way, are leaving our collective struggles and taking their chances with the enemy, giving up the personal gratification, looking hope of working out our dilemmas. In a push-button society, we are understandable prone to impatience in the face of chronic problems and to look for some device button with which to switch on a readily made solution, even before we had come to understand that the problem feeling indeed that understands the problem. And no more necessary their understanding electricity or the chemical composition of gasoline is the art of cooking. In the social realm where change is needed, not to mention psychological or personal change, we will accordingly disdain to grapple with a problem in the process of solving it. But since none will rarely actually be packaged for us in the realm of black love, for it will foreordain a constraint element of opposition to white cohesion in a racist society. And those that are packaged by and of and for this everlasting enemy of our people and the world, least we forget. We keep trying to screw the world bulb into the wrong socket in a room where there is no light then turn around and yet continue to wonder why there is none, why no real solution illuminates our darkness, why nothing appears that we can clearly follow out of the morsels of our intersexual abyss. We are swept up and rocked back and forth, torn from our mourning between aimless infidelity, compensatory pleasure, seeking of all varieties, and the white woman pearl increasingly joined by the white man underlying passion for the black woman. In the absence of our own commitment to self-direction, the black woman complaints are a tangled pathology of sexual and racial longing, and she doesn't know where to turn but to white world, while the black man turns half away, hostile, but as a rule too reluctant to fight, feeling too weak to build or to struggle or any sustained direction. The black woman, increasingly in the cold and frightened void, will turn to the white woman and the white man's magic, yet feeling no less stunning when her man follows her example. Then again, when he does not, and angrily but ineffectively pulls away. So let us round out our inquiries and get on with our results. If there really isn't that much that the average black man in today's society is equipped to give a middle-class black woman beyond emotional support, why is he reluctant to give even this much? It is as simple, it is simple as it is conflicting. The white woman wants from white men, the black woman wants for herself from the white world, but she must also want for the black man the right and resource he needs in order to give her what she wants economically, physically, and psychologically. The black woman quests for equal rights then does not just focus on black women's rights, but also includes the need for rights for black people, including black men. In the face of all of this, our misfortunes as a people and our failures in the areas of love and love relations. Would the black woman, could she find in her heart to make a public demand for the black man? No say to feminism, the fleeing is that the black woman would be putting herself out on a bare limb that is too inclined to sway beneath the relentless swing of the chopping axe. It is going to be left to the black man to prove himself before she will make so grand and unnecessary a move to slowly or to show where his head is, to do something for the black woman, to find something he can give her for one clear moment, to show that the belong again and always to the black woman, for she is no longer sure at all and increasingly is implied to an attitude of giving up on the possibility of ever working anything out with him. If and when she hasn't already lost too much of her faith and hopes, then maybe, yes, she will take her chance against, and if he will show her the way and shout the black man's name and his cause to the reaches of high heavens. She wants to be his partner. She longs for one concerning push for correct and effective values, new attitudes, and inspirations, some clear and present vision of where her race is going. But a lot is going to be up to the black man. Together, they will shape the means of black feminism, or its meaning will be shaped for them by somebody else. And that concludes this chapter. Black feminism. My oh my. I'm not sure if that was Nathan or Julius Harris that wrote that. But to me, I think it all lies that you've been tricked, black women, into following this feminism nonsense. It never suits you, and it should never suit you, because at the end of the day, the Caucasian woman, or what you want to call her, Karen or Miss Ann, whatever these special labels you call her, she still is able to nest in her femininity, because she knows for her survival, she has to make sure she prepares her boys that will be men for the future. I always ask this biggest question, since you have understand that whole chapter, or people that read back, what are you doing now to prepare your boys for the future, so that way you could really nest in your feminine? Because working, doing, and not even committing actual sacrifice for your sons will give you, no doubtly, the same results. Racism is a team sport, people. Don't you ever forget that in your life. And how people play, they play not only for keeps, but they play to win. So I ask the ladies, because the men know what they have to do. I'm unfortunate. But I ask you ladies, what are you willing to do to win? That is my question to ask. And that's the question you ladies have to answer. So this will conclude this chapter, chapter 9, Black Feminism. I'd like to thank everybody that will listen and go back to this podcast, this stream. And like always, please leave your comments. I do want to hear from you from this chapter. And we're almost slowly wrapping up this book. And eventually I'll have to reveal what's the next long book read. I'm not sure what it'll be, but I'll figure out eventually. So like always, thank you for watching the stream. Until next time, take care. And one other thing, don't forget to subscribe to Zero End's channel as well. Sign up. Thank you again. Take care.